Hello, I'm Katie, and this is Stepmum Space, the judgment-free zone where we talk candidly about the fairy tales and scary tales of stepmum life. So whether you've been a stepmum for years, you're just starting out, or you want to understand the stepmum in your life a bit better, this is the place for you. In today's episode, I'm joined by Madison. Madison was in her 20s when she began dating an older man with 3 daughters and 2 exes. Yes, 2. Madison opens up about navigating relationships with the exes, bonding with children close to her own age, and redefining what it means to be a stepmom. We talk candidly about the emotional labour of mum work, the guilt of finding kids annoying, and the power of recalibrating your role when things feel off for you. Madison is so much fun, and we had a real giggle recording this, so I know you're going to love it. Let's get into it. Madison, thank you so much for getting in touch with me. It was very nice to hear from you.
Thanks for having me.
Now, why don't you start by just telling us a bit about you and your family?
Yeah, sure. So there's me, of course. And I started dating my husband 5 years ago. And at the time, he had 3 daughters who at that time were 3 years old. The next one would have been 13. And the next one would have been 17 at the time. So he's a little bit older than I am. He's 13 years older than I am. So he had his older 2 from his previous marriage. And then he kind of had a surprise after that with the youngest. So she was almost 3 and now she's almost 8.
The others are adults, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. So they're 18 and 21. Actually, the oldest and I have the same birthday. So we're both I'm turning 32 on October 1st and she's turning 22. So we're only 10 years apart.
Okay, so you meet your husband. He's got 2 teenagers and a preschooler in tow.
Yes, yeah.
What was that like?
Well, I didn't at the time of meeting him. I didn't know that he was so much older. Well, a little bit older, however you want to put it. He was older than I was. And pretty quickly, I was a server at a restaurant and he was a patron. And I noticed him pretty quickly. And everyone's like, oh no, we've seen him in here. He's got like 100 kids. You don't want to go for that. Which is obviously in the end, it's not 100. 3 is not so bad. But I was like, okay, no worries. No, like fair enough. But we were just still very interested in each other, both of us from the beginning. Found out that he was, in fact, in my head, when people said he had 3 kids, I thought, 3 young kids, because I didn't realize he was older and he had his kids, his first 2 so young. So I was like, okay, well, whatever, that's fine. I'm not interested. But we were just very drawn to each other. He did tell me pretty early on, he's like, yeah, this is my situation. And to me, I was 27 at the time. I had just bought my own house. I had come out of a relationship. I was like, cool, just hanging out and exploring the world and living my life. And that doesn't bother me. And I'm just going to be single and do my thing. So I was still interested in kind of hanging out with him. We went on some dates and it pretty quickly snowballed into where I am now, which at the time looked like me spending more time at his house. I met his kids maybe quicker than I thought I would. The older 2 first, and then the youngest a little while after that, at least. It just kind of snowballed. I did not obviously anticipate full-blown stepmotherhood. I have no kids of my own, and we were not having kids of our own. So it's very much full-blown stepmotherhood.
And you said in the beginning that he told me about his situation. So what was the situation?
So he had his ex-wife. They shared the 2. They did week on, week off. And then with his youngest, she was still just under 3. She was in daycare. He shared custody with his ex on that as well. But it wasn't very established. It was kind of all over the place. And the schedule was every other day, switching alternate weekends, then switching it was kind of back and forth and it was very loose. It wasn't set in stone. So there was days where it was maybe his day, but then it wasn't last minute or vice versa. So that was the situation. And I was like, okay. And he's like, I'm civil, good enough terms with his exes. They're communicative. But I, again, just kind of blindly was like, cool, it doesn't matter because I won't be around that long to figure that out and need to know about that. I was like, we'll just chat. We'll just have some fun. We'll just hang out and then probably move on my way. But both his exes live within a 20-minute drive of where we are in opposite ends. It
Hmm.
doesn't matter so much now with the older two because they're, adults, although we can circle back to that in the end. But at the time, it was like, okay, not all that bad. You don't sound like you're trash talking your exes, which was, I think, a good thing to hear. But it also doesn't sound like you're best friends with your exes, which is also maybe a good thing to hear.
So you went from kind of being well, I'm in my 20s, I'm gonna just kind of date you for a while, hang out for a while, and
Yes.
then I'll be gone. And then 5 years later, you're here still.
Here we are. Yeah. So I ended up eventually, I mean, maybe jumping ahead of it, but I ended up selling my place because I was splitting so much time between our two houses. Mine was like a project fixer-upper. So I was doing all the DIY as you do, and it became a lot. And eventually it was like, okay, well, why don't we just focus on one house with his eldest going off to uni? It kind of snowballed quickly at that time too, because it was like now she was the one that drove the youngest to and from childcare. So it was like, oh, well, now he won't be able to because of his work schedule. And it was like, well, I'll be here now and I'll start doing that. And it truly is like the snowball effect. There was not a lot of foresight or planning. It just kind of happened all as it happened.
And it's so funny though, isn't it? Because if you're going to have a biological child, you go, how often do I want them in childcare? Who's going to get them there? How are we going to
Yes.
do this? And then, like you say, in the world of stepmotherhood, it gradually becomes like, oh, well, I can finish early and do that pickup, or I'll do this and I'll do that.
And
And
yeah, I think that is definitely the case. And I mean, I know there's, you knew what you were getting into when you married someone with children, but it just the same as parenthood. It's like, yeah, you have a general idea, but it's never what it lines up to be, or it's never quite what you expect.
Mhm.
And I think those little things like, oh, I'll do the pickup or I'll do the this. And then it just becomes, it's like every day it's, oh, well, I didn't even realize that was happening. And I think that's why like now I'm so outspoken about stepmotherhood because it's like, such a kind of shock to the system. And I think women don't necessarily set those boundaries in the beginning because you want to please, you just want to be helpful, and then it turns into a lot of other things as well.
I almost think we go into overdrive because we're so desperate not to be like a wicked stepmother.
Yes.
And we
Yes.
want our partners to see that like we're trying really hard with their kids. So
Correct.
I think we end
Yeah.
up picking up things that they need to do.
Yes, exactly. And I think that it didn't necessarily help in the beginning because his eldest was at home and doing a lot of those things as well because he works and he has a very like tedious work schedule that doesn't allow for him to do, the morning routine or the school pickup or any of those things. His eldest daughter was doing a lot of that as well. And then when she moved away, we were in about a year in our relationship. So it did seem it was still like fresh and new and you're still doing, all the best and wanting to help. And I think you're right, the vision of like the evil stepmother, you want to push that back so much that you're kind of like infringing on your own boundaries to do so. So it was this slide of her leaving, me coming in, and he always had a lot of help with the youngest from the eldest. And then it was like suddenly all on me. And I'm like, wait a second. Shouldn't you be doing some of these things?
Yeah.
It was good in the beginning, I will say. Every story has twists and turns, but the eldest wasn't around a lot because she was working, social life, prepping. She knew she was going off to school, so she wasn't always around. The middle and I were really close really, really quickly, which was nice. Felt good to be like immediately, quote unquote, accepted. And then the youngest she's just happy that I was around, happy to play, happy to do all those things because she's 3 at the time. So, she's just happy.
That's quite unusual that you had such a good, strong relationship with the teenage middle daughter
Mhm.
right off the bat.
I was a little anxious. Teenagers are a little scary, still are. But she was 13. She was, I think we had a lot in common as well. Like I was the middle child growing up. She was the middle child. In some ways, like at her mom's house, she is still the youngest. And,
Mhm.
at dad's house, she is now the middle child. From her perspective, it's quite interesting. And I think I could relate to that in some ways. Being the middle child, being like a, forgotten child at times. So we bonded. I think we bonded over that as well. But we also have like a similar personality, a similar sense of humor. So it was quite nice. And I was really worried going into it because I know that the older two, when my husband was with the youngest's mom, they were not fans right off the bat. And I heard like horror stories that they like the frog in the shoe or like the pictures of mom and dad in the bed in their room when they went very like Parent Trap. So I was a little nervous, but we hit it off pretty
And
well.
that's quite interesting, actually, because that would have been their second experience of a stepmom. Hey, can I steal a moment? If you've been listening and quietly thinking, I wish I had somewhere to say the things I don't say out loud, I might have the answer. I want to invite you into a space where you don't have to hold it all together. A space for the thoughts that sit heavy, the feelings that don't always have words, and the questions that surface when there's no one to ask. It's calm, it's clear, and it's built around you. A space where you can speak freely, be fully heard, and start making sense of it all, while moving forward in a way that actually feels good. Whether you're navigating tricky dynamics, setting firmer boundaries, or just trying to feel more like you again, this is where we begin. If that sounds like something you've been craving, head to stepmumspace.com and book a free intro call. I'm a qualified transformational coach and stepfamily specialist, and I would love to support you. All right, back to the episode.
Yeah, so they had the youngest and her mom and my husband were together 5-year range. And they didn't have, they were quite young when she came into the picture, and they were very like still on the tails of, mom and dad splitting. So, and I had parents that splits around similar age. So like I could relate and understand where they're coming from. But yeah, they had a very different experience in that. That was their first blended family. And the youngest, her mom also has 2 older kids. So they were at one time a family of 4. And then when the youngest was born, like a family of 5, and then splitting. So they've been through a whole lot of different dynamics.
Yeah, I bet. So the relationships with the kids are all good. The relationship with the husband's good. Everything seems rosy.
Well, it does, and it did. But it was a hard kind of go. I think that I was very rose-colored glasses when it came to it, and there was definitely like boundaries that needed to be put into place. I think with the youngest mom especially, because she's young and she still requires a lot of communication, whereas the older two, like it was like if something, hey, they got a bad report card, like that was about maybe as much, or hey, graduation's coming up now. Like there wasn't a lot of communication. We've had those two's mom around for dinner, for celebrations and things. Like you're getting to that age where that happens. And then the youngest, there's a lot of communication, but it also like doing favors and things like that. Hey, could you pick me up this? Could you do this? It was like I needed to have some boundaries in place when we first started dating, because it's like, you're running errands for her. It's starting to feel a little weird or uncomfy. He would always drive his youngest to and from. Mom never had to do pick up, drop off. It was always him kind of at her back and call. Hey, when you drop her off, can you pick me up this? Can you grab me a pack of smokes even? Like it was a little like, oh, okay, that's got to stop at some point.
Yeah.
For my comfortability, but I also think for his, like, you don't owe her. But he was very like, I want to make sure that she stays happy and comfortable. I don't want her to like have any reason to try and keep my kid from me. I'm like, right,
Yeah.
but you can't do all those like relationshipy things for someone
Yeah.
else. Now I'm here. It was a lot of errands and a lot of, hey, can you do this for me? Hey, can you do that for me? I'm like, okay, there's got to be a line somewhere. Like once in
Yeah.
a while is one thing.
Also, like, I think most women would ask anybody in the world before they ask their ex.
Yeah, and I do understand the good terms thing, but yeah, we kind of nipped that quickly. There was that matter. There was like matters of I think maybe she wasn't comfortable with me in the beginning, but now we're at a place where it's like me and her talk more than her and my husband do, just because we're both the mums of the situation, like all the mental load, all the arrangements, all the scheduling, all the calendar, all the who's clothes, who's this, what birthday party. So we tend to text now more than they do,
Yeah.
which I think works for our family. I know that lots of women don't want anything to do with the ex. Like his older two, it's him and their mom do all the communicating, because I wasn't around for their like childhood. So much more with the younger. Now we're all civil. It doesn't mean we all love our situation or each other. All civil because we know it's what's best for the situation.
When you kind of said to your husband, hey, look, I'm not comfortable with you being Uber Eats for your ex,
Yeah, yeah.
how did he take that and what happened?
I think it was like he was a bit defensive because like he had said, I'm just trying to keep everyone happy but I think at the same time he probably knew that it was a little bit boundary crossing even before I was in the picture. You can't have your cake and eat it too kind of situation. He didn't take it necessarily poorly, but he wasn't also like, okay, sounds great. Like there was a bit of resistance.
Yeah.
I had to be and it was hard for me at the time because it was like, what's too possessive of a girlfriend? What's too lax of a girlfriend? Like, am I being jealous? Is this coming from a place of jealousy, or is this coming from a place of this is what's healthy and needs to happen for us? And I think that's more so. I've always tried to be aware of where things are coming from.
That is important, but I also think, and I say this a lot to the women I work with in coaching, like if something makes you feel uncomfortable, it makes you feel uncomfortable, and that's okay.
Yeah, I think if something makes you uncomfortable, like absolutely speak up. And I do think it is worth recognizing where it's coming from. But even if it is coming from jealousy, I think
Mm,
it's still worth
mm.
having a conversation about. And we've had
Yeah,
to have many conversations like that over the years because it's not just like one ex, it's two, it's different dynamics, different things going on. And I've had to kind of be like, why am I feeling this or where is this coming from? But I also am like, I'm not gonna bottle it up and just
mm,
not chat about it. Like, hey, can we just, is this weird? Or like I don't have a lot of stepmom friends. So it is something that I've now like found in the groups online, the podcast. Like it's nice to have that validation too. I'm not alone in thinking like this is a little uncomfy or something that doesn't work for us, doesn't work for someone else too. I'm like, okay, so it's not just me.
yeah. And also, like sometimes you can have an uncomfortable feeling about something, and like you say, if you kind of delve in and go, oh, actually, well, that's coming from a place of, I don't know, a lot of women feel insecure about it.
Mhm.
Say, for example, if their partner's ex was the one who ended the relationship, they might feel insecure
Right.
about that. But actually, it doesn't mean it's not okay to take action based on that. You just need to be really
Yeah.
open about it. And, there's often a middle ground. So you might say, I'm really uncomfortable with you picking her up
Mhm.
stuff. So maybe ask her not to. But of course, in an emergency, if she needs something,
But I do think like it took also the time. And I mean, we're only 5 years in. And I've read things that are like, the average blended family takes about 7 years to really find its way. And I do find that now, like, I'm more secure in our relationship. That's a time thing, a bonding thing, a trust thing. But now if it was like, oh, she wants you to stop and get whatever on her way, I'd just be like, oh, as opposed to like, oh, that's like, why are you doing that for her? Like, there's such a different reaction and comes with time.
yeah,
Just
it's that state of like extreme unbotheredness.
yeah, but it did feel kind of isolating in that beginning because it's like my friends don't really understand or don't want to even hear about it. Like, not to make my friends sound or like friendships, but maybe just don't relate, don't want to hear me, ask 100 times. I'm like, am I being insecure? Is this being this? Is this weird? And they don't have any basis to help me out on that.
And at the time, you're 27.
And I mean, with stepchildren that are not that far off in age from me, like my eldest and I are closer in age than my husband and I are. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not, how do I know what to do with a 17-year-old? Like I was just 17, wasn't I?
You talked about what sounded like quite a chaotic schedule with your youngest
Hmm.
stepdaughter. It's really interesting because in some cases, it's great for children to have that flexibility. And they do say with really young kids that it's good to see both of your parents often. How was it for you going into kind of this with no schedule when you yourself are still learning about being a mother figure?
Yeah, it was interesting. I think at her age, like again, the week on, week off is a long time at that age, like 2.5, 3, to be away from the other parent, as you said, just away from the other household, just away from the other routines. But then it became also like this lack of routine because things could be switched so flippantly. And I, in the beginning, was like, I'll see you on the days you don't have your kids, which was hard because the older two were still doing week on, week off, and the youngest was doing every other day. So it was hard for us to see each other kid free in the beginning,
Mm.
unless it was asking the older two to watch her, to babysit her. And then I kind of felt guilty for having him be away from his kids. I think maybe there was some guilt there for him as well, but also like, you deserve to still be an adult that does things. But then because the week on, week off, it should have been able to be fit into the weeks off, but then she was doing every other day. So it was really hard in the beginning for us to kind of see each other unless I think about 4 months in is when had met all of the kids, which to me
Mm.
also now looking back is quite quick. But it was like, oh, come over for like a family thing. And I'm like, ooh, weird. How do I fit into that family thing? Like, am I family now? It's only been 4 or 5 months, like family movie night. And I'm like, and me.
I'm thinking, there's this 27-year-old who was like, I'm just after like a fling or something. And then suddenly you're invited to
Yeah,
family movie
yes.
night.
And now we're like having fish and chips in front of a movie screen. I specifically remember there's one night we ordered in fish and chips and we're watching a movie. It's right after Christmas time, so it was like in January in the new year. And I'm like, this is how my year's starting. Like I don't know what's going on. I went from like nights out at the bars with my friends to like family movie nights within the span of a couple months. And it was very strange. I feel like my life did this like 180 really quick.
Mm.
I had friends that were getting married and having kids of their own, and everyone's like, we all want to be pregnant at the same time, and we all want to, like, in my friend group, and I'm like, I don't know what tomorrow looks like, let alone any of that, right? So it was a very strange time, very like mentally taxing time because I wasn't sure where this was going, what I wanted to do. I was still so young. He was in such a different life stage than I was. I had just bought a house I was renovating. I was like, I don't know. I don't know what this back and forth is. His daughter, the youngest, really struggled with the schedule as well as because she was not really sure where she was going at any given day because it was so flippant. So she was having a lot of issues with it. I was kind of having issues with it. It was hard in the beginning. It was hard. She wanted, when dad was picking her up, she wanted mom to pick her up or vice versa. And she was having a lot of like trouble sleeping at night. She slept in his bed actually when we started dating. So I was never staying over because it got to a point where it's like, I'm not allowed to stay over. And if I do, I have to go sleep on the couch. And I was like, listen, this isn't going to work for me. So we had to like put her into her own bedroom, adjust her to having a new space and sleeping in her own bed. And it was very hard. It was all things that I was just like, I didn't know what I was signing up for, like it
Yeah.
was all very difficult.
And with all that stuff that you had to navigate as a couple, how much of it was done as a couple versus him just saying, hey, this is how I think we should do it, or you being kind of left to figure it out?
So even now, I think we struggle sometimes with like the as a couple bit because in the beginning, I was very like, well, I'm not in charge. It's not up to me. It was very much like him. I remember this sleeping situation. I had said, listen, she needs to go in her own bed because like part of the agreement him and his ex had was that they weren't going to share a bed with her and then another person.
Hmm.
Completely respect that boundary. But I was like, but listen, like she's 3, she needs to go into her own bed. I can't sleep over. We can't do this like family thing that we're trying to do. So I kind of made that push and then he made the choice to put her in her bedroom. But even now it's like we struggle now. I think sometimes it's more what I say goes. And I think that part of that sometimes, and we see a couples therapist and we try and work through all of it because it is very complicated. There is a lot going on. But a lot of what I say, because it's like I have very little control, sometimes it feels like in a lot of situations. So I try to push for more control and like what I say is what's happening. We try to have the discussions and come to agreements and things. But I do find that maybe it tends now, like it's started earlier and now it tends to be more like my decisions. But I'm also primary caregiver in our household. I'm also primary parent because he works and he's not around as much for her day-to-day care as I am. So it's kind of like I've started to make the executive decisions for her care.
And how do you feel about that?
So I thought I felt good about it. And now I kind of got to the point where I'm like, I want to step back about it.
Mm.
I kind of want to not be the one. I thought that it would give me this sense of like belonging in this family unit because I think that is something I talked to my husband and our therapist about. And it's this family unit that's pre-built and then you're coming in and you can have a tendency to feel like an outsider. So it was like, well, I'll push to have some sort of control by like, hey, we're gonna do this. This is when we eat dinner. This is when we do this. Like having some sort of say in things. And I'm like, I don't want so much say in things. I'm happy to kind of take a back seat. Like she was doing her schoolwork, like her homework the other night, and I said to my husband, like, you can do this. I'm gonna go sit. I'm gonna go do that or whatever. And trying to make it's hard though to make boundaries retroactively. I work from home, so I'm a wedding photographer and I do content creation. So I'm on my computer in my office a lot. And in the summer when she has no school, it's like I'm doing everything. I'm home with her. It's automatically by default. I'm like, how did we get here without any conversations around it? And how do you retroactively be like, okay, I don't want to be full time in charge of her care. And not for not loving her or caring about her, but simply because he goes to work every day and has his dedicated time for work. And I would like to have the same, but where do we go from here when we're so deeply involved in our routine as we are?
Yeah. There's so much there that I think will resonate with so many people. So when you talked first about actually you feel like an outsider, there's a family that they've got their
Yeah.
established routines and you kind of come in and you think, well, I don't want to just blend in. Like I've got the way that I want to do things.
Yes.
But then like you've created that kind of way of being as a family. But with it, it means that then it's now on you to make all those other extra decisions and have all that responsibility. And you said a little while back about how you and the youngest's mum are kind of in touch all the time with all the
Mhm.
mental load. I
It's
wonder
hard.
whether the more you've tried to kind of belong, the more you've actually ended up just taking stuff on.
Yes, yes. And it's like, I think that I see that a lot in talking to other stepmoms too, is exactly what you said, like where you're trying to find your way and take a part, but now you're taking on more of like, it should be the bio parents' jobs to do X, Y, and Z. And I kind of now look at it as my husband always really wanted us to feel like he's always made it clear he really wanted us to just feel like a family. And so I strive to we just are a family. We're a regular family, but we're not. And I spoke with him semi recently being, it's okay to be a different kind of family. We don't have to look like a regular family. We aren't a regular family. I think it's okay to have the role of stepmom to help out bio dad if that is as she chooses to do and not take on everything for him.
Yeah.
Which is what I find our dynamic has kind of become. And we're kind of trying to rework things now, 5 years in, and see where things might be better suited to change. But very much so like taking on all the responsibilities that a bio parent would. And it becomes a heavy burden to bear when society and maybe other people, even in your circles, are like, well, you're not mom, you're not the parent. And then you're bearing all the load of bio parent, but you're not a parent. And it's this very like mental battle of like contradicting yourself and society and other people's views.
How do you feel when people say to you, oh, you're not a parent?
It's so hard. And we've had this chat too. And it's like, well, if I'm not a real parent, I'm packing school lunches, I'm driving to school, I'm up with her in the middle of the night because my husband's work schedule. So when she has a bad dream or when she's sick, it's me that's up with her in the night. Sick days, I'm the one that's here holding her hair back and like cold cloth on her forehead. And it's like, well, then what makes a real parent? And would you say that to somebody who's adopted a child?
Mm.
And I think that's the struggle. Like I've been in my own head too, is I'm stepmom and then also, okay, but I'm just a mom. I'm just like any other mom, but I am a stepmom. But I am just like every other mom because I'm doing the same things as every other mom. And my youngest is always, you're just my mom. People say you're my stepmom, but you're just my mom. And that's how she's always approached having me in her life. And she now, she's like, when I was at the hospital and you came to visit me when I was born, I was like, oh, no. But she doesn't remember that there was like a time when I wasn't here. And she's
Yeah.
very strongly, you're just my mom. And that also has made it complicated for me because I want to honor and respect how she feels, but then it also puts more on me to be like, but I am a stepmom and that's okay. So I've been all around the world and all around the block of feelings about it. I've had days crying. I remember my first or second Mother's Day, like taking off and going for a walk and just sitting and crying to myself. And it comes with like the joys and the heartbreaks, and it's hard. It's hard when people don't respect the work you put in and the care you put in and the effort you put in. And I've also had the talk of like, but it's okay. It doesn't matter what other people think. It just matters what we think in our family. So I've been all over with it, if that answers the question or not.
Yeah, it does. And it's really complicated when you be that person who's close to that child, but
Mhm.
you don't want that automatically to mean you have to do everything. But do you know
Yeah.
what? Like, I think that's just normal motherhood. Like me and my husband, he'll already kill me for saying this, but he will quite often say things like, "Oh, well, yeah, I've helped with dinner." And I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. You cooked a meal that you and
Yeah.
your children also ate. That's not
Yes.
helping me with
Yeah.
dinner."
Absolutely. Oh, we've been there. I'm like, if I wasn't around, you'd have to provide for her still. Not she's still a minor. She's still in your care. You're not helping. You're just doing the regular duties that any adult with a child needs to do.
Exactly. And I don't know where that happens because I would look at, my husband and probably yours as well and say, they're fairly modern men. They have very strong views, particularly as dads of daughters, of
Mm,
equality and all of that. But yet somehow we still end up doing the majority of just the
yeah.
boring shit that goes with parenting.
Yeah, and I'm like, if I'm not, doing laundry or signing her school bag or packing her school lunch or going online, they've got hot lunches at school, and it's like I'm on the calendar. What days do we have her? What days is hot lunch? How much and what is it here? And what donation is due? And what school event is she needs this colored shirt for this day at school? And it's like, sorry, I don't think he's ever done any of it, and not because he's not a good parent, but it's like I've picked up on those tasks and now it's just like ingrained that it's my task to do. And I think that's typical of all mothers, not just stepmothers. I do think it's just like the burden put on women, which is a whole nother thing I could get into.
Oh,
I don't want to fault our husbands. I know it's like you've said, they're quite like in your situation and mine, like quite modern men, but it's just kind of that way that things fall and you don't realize it until you're kind of deep within it. And it's like, oh.
yeah. And then the problem is, in the early days, I did loads and loads and loads of stuff. And I think because I had a son who was a similar age to my stepdaughters,
Right.
it felt like it would be really mean to not do the same for them as I was
Yeah.
doing for him. But it was really hard. And then I think as time went on, and I was trying to say to my husband, like, you need to do this. Like,
Hmm.
you need to get dates for rehearsals in your diary. You need to do those types of things. If they didn't happen, it ends up being the kids who lose out. So then you feel really shitty. But then you're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
no, but you're their dad. You need to do
Yes,
it.
yes. And that's how we had that with soccer this year because he wanted her to do soccer for a few years now. And I said, then if you want, I'm a wedding photographer in the summer. Soccer is when happens in the summer. I'm so busy. If you want her to play soccer, you need to sign her up, figure it out, look into it. She didn't play soccer the first year. She didn't play soccer the next year. And then this year she had a friend's mom who's like, hey, is she doing soccer? And I had said to my husband, like, if you want to do soccer, you look into it. But it's her that's missing out. So then I, of course, go on and I sign her up for soccer and I get it all sorted. And I said, I put your email. So the emails are coming to you and I'm not CCing myself on the emails. So anything that happens, you need to look into. But there is that like pushback of, well, you were doing it before. So it's again like a hard thing to step away from. But I still step in the last hour because it's like you don't want the kid to miss out.
Just as we're talking about this, it's really interesting because I'm thinking about my son that me and my husband share, our child. When I say to him, you can be responsible for everything to do with his football, I don't feel mean. I don't feel mean,
Yeah, yeah, different, right?
which is, again, it's that weird like paradox of being a stepmom. that
Yeah,
keeps
where
coming
it's
up.
not mean if it was your bio child, but it is mean if it's your stepchild because now you are this level of expected extra effort to make sure that they are accommodated and taken care of. Yeah, it's hard. And that's even the same in the same vein, like mums with back to school. And it's like mums are like, yes, we made it through the summer. Our kids are back to school finally. And then it's like, if I say that, thank God summer's over. It's like, oh, you don't care about your stepchild? You don't
Yeah,
want her around? You don't love her?
yeah, yeah,
So it's the
yeah.
same vein of like a regular bio mom can say or not do pick up the pieces and let things go to dad or say certain things, and then as soon as you've got the connotation of stepmom, it's like you say or do the same things. Like I'm not gonna pick up you take care of soccer, you take care of that, or yay, it's finally Monday and we're doing a switch. It's like oh no, you're mean. Evil stepmom.
Yeah, and you're not. So for all the stepmoms listening who like are looking forward to their house getting back, it being time,
Yes. Yeah.
it's okay. It's really okay. And it's funny, like now sometimes my stepdaughters, they're really into singing and drama and both very good. And when they were young, they went through this phase where they would just hum. They would hum all the time, like the same songs over and over again. And there wasn't anything wrong with the humming, but I used to find it insanely irritating. And I remember feeling really bad, thinking, you know, you must be such a horrible person. All they're doing is
Yeah.
humming. And I never said anything about it, but I
Oh,
felt
you're
really
nicer
guilty.
than I am.
But then this morning, our two kids were
Yeah.
like humming, and I was like, guys, could you just please stop doing that? And I was feeling myself, and I'm like, oh, like I wish I'd have known then that it was okay
Yeah.
to be
It's
annoyed.
okay. I just give myself a lot of grace, maybe too much grace, because like our youngest does that now, and I'm like, okay, enough with the singing of just random sounds all the time. If you want to sing a real song, please go ahead. I love to hear you sing, but like just I'm like, no, so overstimulating. I give myself so much grace. I'm not gonna feel bad. I'm not gonna feel bad.
Yeah, but that's good. You should. Are the kids in the US obsessed with K-pop demons?
Yeah, we were meant to go to a birthday party yesterday as well. That was the theme, but I had to go to work, so we didn't have to go to the birthday.
Well,
Oh,
that's the current thing now, and it's like they sing it and they sing it, and I listen to them. I think there's nothing wrong with their singing, but my God,
but it's
just
the repetitiveness of it is like, yeah, okay. And then when you're driving and it's always in the back, and I'm like, okay, I'm just like trying not to crash the
yeah,
car, and
yeah. But it's funny because as a stepmom, like I think there'll be a lot of women listening, thinking, "Oh shit, okay, so just because I
yeah.
find that stuff really inanely irritating, it doesn't mean I'm a bad person."
Yeah, and you know what? The thing is, like I've said, I don't have a lot of stepmom friends with the same experiences, but I do have a lot of mom friends and really good, true friends that will validate, like, you're not alone because I feel that with my own bio child. And I'm like, oh, bless, thank you.
Yeah,
Just that reassurance. You know, some moms I find you can't, they're maybe not like the friendship's not as good or the bond is not as good or maybe just the judgment and you can't say those things because you do get a bit of the judginess and they're like, oh, but they're like, I love my child. My child's perfect. My child's never done anything that annoyed me ever.
yeah, right.
But like you find good mom friends and like whether they're stepmoms or bio moms and they're like, yeah, don't worry, you're not alone. Like my own bio child drives me crazy too. I'm like, okay, it's
Yeah.
not because I don't love her. It's not because I'm a stepmom. It's because I'm a woman with a million other things on my plate. And when she just humming to herself so loudly, it's just one too many things.
Yeah, you're so right. You're so right. I said to my son last night, I was like, come on then. He's like, but it's really early to go to bed. I'm like, yes, I'm done mumming for the day. You can read in
It is
bed.
great.
Get
Oh
to
yeah, we have that. Yeah. I'm like, okay, early to bed, and that is just what it is. I'm just done. I
bed.
can't.
It sounds like a lot. So you talked about how you and ex number one had dinners together a couple of
Yeah,
times.
we've had events and things together and it's again like it was a very different experience because there was no day-to-day handoff. Like no, this is what homework, this is what's closed, this is what sports is going on. All those things with the youngest because they're young and you have all those things to talk about and send back and forth or we're going to sign her up for this activity or we're going to do that. With teenagers, it's like we didn't have any of that because they're very independent teens. And now the middle has just gone off to university again. Like she's gone somewhere 4 hours, 5 hours away. So it's like, bye. And but we still see mom because the eldest actually had a baby. So we've been to baby showers, we've been to, like events like that you're gonna see.
I'm looking at you. Obviously, people won't be able to see you,
Yeah.
but you like, I'm thinking you're a step granny and you look so
Yeah.
young.
I know, at 31. So yeah, it's very interesting. But we do see the eldest two's mom, and it's very just civil. Like we don't have a lot of involvement. We don't I hear about, they tell the stories of this happened at mom's house or this or that, but it's just very like that's just a person that is exists and we are cordial and there's not any involvement really there.
And has their mum always been accepting of you in their life?
Yeah, I think so because she, like, again, our middle one has got on with me so well. And I think that we've always been pretty lucky that way. Like, oh, I'm going to pick her up and take her to the mall, or I'm going to drop her off and do things with her. And I think that that's been appreciated as well. There's never been any. Animosity about it, not that I'm aware of. If there is, it's been kept to itself, which is also a nice thing. Like we're not trying to be best friends because we would never be best friends, but we're not also enemies. It's
Yeah.
just
I think if there had have been anything, untoward, you would have seen it play out in behaviors of your stepkids.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that there's always just been a very ease kind of in that, well, not always, but there's there's always been like from the beginning there's been a natural kind of just hands off of our relationship, mom and I. We just are happy for the kids. I get along with the kids. That's what makes things work. And yeah.
You're making it sound very smooth. I'm
It's
wondering.
I don't want to make it sound smooth because I know so many people out there struggle, but I do find that it's like I just have accepted like the way that things are there. It's just, I think, again, like it's never been a need to communicate. Maybe
Mm,
if there had been more needs to communicate, it wouldn't have been so smooth. But because they were so much older, yeah, we just didn't have like a handoff. We didn't have an exchange. Things now is just like, oh, double checking, Christmas presents, like we're not buying them the same things.
yeah.
Or like when the eldest had the baby, we're going to the baby shower and we're making sure we're not crossing over on our gifts or things like that.
I mean, it might be just that the mum has thought, like obviously many biological mums do, has thought, hey, this is, somebody extra who's in my kid's life. Great. You don't have to be best friends, but she's like grateful for somebody who's nice to her kids.
And I suppose that is what it is too, because I will say like the middle one who we chat lots, and she said like with the youngest's mom, it wasn't necessarily like that because they were younger when she came in the picture,
Mm.
and they were like, she tried to be inserting herself into parenting, maybe even though they were still older, there was a little more animosity between those two exes than like in our little triangle than with me. And because she was maybe more like the middle child would say, oh, she tried to tell me what I could wear or what I couldn't wear and things my mom bought for me she wouldn't let me have. And I just never felt like the need to parent them that way. They were
Yeah.
older, they were already parented, and I'm not going to step in and say, oh, you can't wear this or you can't do that. It's really up to their dad to do those
Yeah.
sorts of things. I'm not their primary caregiver. I wasn't around to make those rules. I'm not going to try and step in and create rules. So I think that helped with the relationship with mom because I wasn't trying to take over parenting her children. I was very just hands off on the older two, which I don't know if that's good or bad, but I think it also like my age was, I was like, I'm 27. I don't know how to parent teenagers, so it's not my problem.
But in some ways, I think that's really a gift because, what happens time and time again, the people who have really clear ideas about how they think children should be raised, including myself, often come
Mhm.
up against a lot of the bumps. So if you're
Mhm.
coming into it and you're like, oh, whatever, you're their dad, you decide, that's probably going to be a lot easier in a lot of cases. And I think because you didn't have children of your own aside from them, there was nothing for you to worry about in terms of comparison with, oh, I've got to do the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah, like not trying to treat them as equals, even though I mean, it's completely understandable to me as I don't have children, so I mean, it's not like I'm a expert to speak on it, but I think it's completely understandable that you would treat your children differently than your stepchildren.
Yeah.
And so if
Would
anyone
you,
listening is out there hearing that, like I think that's okay. I'm not judging you. But
well,
I
would
do
you
think
say
there is a pressure to like treat them, like you said, like there is no comparison when you don't have your own bio children to compare to. We didn't have that pressure or that situation in it. So I think it was just semi smooth sailing. Trust me, I had my own opinions. Maybe you shouldn't let them do this or maybe you shouldn't let them do that. But I was mostly just would tell my husband, like, oh, I don't agree, but not my problem.
yeah. So, I mean, that's very much where I think a lot of women move to. And I mean, I say it to my biological kids all the time. The things that you hate me telling you to do, by the way, I also hate telling you to do.
I know that's it. And I'm like, I'm not, I don't ever want to make her like any of them resent me, but it's like I say things out of love and care. And that's where everything I think most parents come from. It's like it's coming out
Yeah.
of a place of love and care and concern for you and
Yeah.
not trying to exert my power, quote unquote, or control you or anything like that. Even with the older two, it's like, oh, I don't like that you did let them do this or they can do that. Or I think, there's differences in our even now still like they are adults, but they're still young adults and they're still in need of parenting guidance and direction, as we all were at that age. And I have my opinions. I share them with my husband, and I don't need to try and just insert my way into presiding over them and their lives. But the youngest, of course, I'm like, no, I have lots of opinions on how I'd like her to be raised now.
Well, is she with you half the time now?
She is, yeah. So we're Monday to Monday. She's with me half the time. I do all the school runs. I do the packing of lunches. I do most of the dinners. I do all her school stuff. It works for us. I do, like I said, I do think there's places now that we're looking at and kind of reevaluating where I could maybe hand some of those responsibilities back to dad. But it works for us, and she's with me often and all the time. Really, it feels like even those 50% like the weeks she's not with us, I feel like I'm still mentally doing all her school prep and her play date prep and her calendar prep. And so, it's I have a lot of say in what she does and doesn't do. And
It sounds like it's been relatively smooth for you. And at 31, like, I can sound like a right granny now, but like, you're still so young.
yeah.
What does the next 20 years look like?
Oh my gosh, we love to travel. So our focus on life is like let's travel as much as we can. We don't plan on having children of our own. So we do have this nice, instant childcare where she can go to another house even if we're traveling during some of our time. Like we have that coming up in October and just sent her mom a message like, "Hey, we're planning to be away. We're happy to find someone for her to stay with like my sister or my parents, his sister, or, if you're happy to take her then we can do that too." It's very flexible, which is lovely
Yeah.
that way. We've got the best of both worlds. And I think that's why it worked too. Like with us dating when she was so young and coming into like this family when she was so young, I didn't feel like I needed to have children of my own because I was doing the child rearing and raising with
Mm.
her. I was like, yeah, I'm good to not like because I was kind of back and forth before that on kids. And I'm like, I'm good to just raise her. And then we still get our travel time. We get to go do that. We're still raising her. I mean, she's still so young, like, another 10 years and then she'll be off. But like 10 years there's a lot that can happen in 10 years, I suppose. A lot has happened in 5 years.
Yeah.
I feel sometimes it's just we're getting through each day as it comes because sometimes it feels like you're just in the trenches and other times it feels like things are great and smooth, but it's a mix of both, truly.
And what do you rely on to get you through the tough spots?
Knowing I have a vacation coming up is all I need.
I love that. I love that.
I think that it was hard when the eldest had a baby. She moved back home with us, actually. So she does live home with us now, and the baby. And it was kind of a hard adjustment because I was like, oh, I really value our off weeks. And I like, those are really can get me through. As much as I love having our youngest here, like sometimes it's like I just need to get to our week, get through this week. But it was a hard adjustment having our home just be not empty on those weeks. So now she's back with this baby. So it was a hard adjustment, and I didn't maybe handle things as well as I could have, but learning from it, trying to learn from it. We still get a lot of our own alone time. I mean, it's not like we're all just sat in a room together all the time. Mm-hmm. So, but it was like, oh, I really look forward to our weeks on our own. And we still get a fair bit of alone time. I look forward to just like sometimes when it's just me and him and we're going away on vacation, and that is something to look forward to. Get us through till then.
Yes, amazing. Well, look, Madison, it's been so nice to talk to you.
You as well.
Really appreciate all of your kind of insights, and just a reminder for stepmums that any of those uncomfortable feelings that they're feeling or being dragged down in the trenches, like that's motherhood.
Yeah, no one's escaping that. It's not, I mean, it comes with its own special challenges, but no one's escaping the dragging down and the roller coaster that it is, right? There's ups and there's downs.
If you can't cope with another sound of K-pop demon hunters, you are not alone.
Absolutely. I give you permission to shut it off. Send them to bed early.
I'm like, Alexa, turn the volume down. Alexa, turn the volume down.
Oh, Alexa's not working anymore. So sorry.
Yes, that's what I need to try.
Just unplug.
Madison, thank you for sharing your story with such honesty, heart, and humour. It was a joy to chat with you. If this episode resonated with you, please take a moment to rate, review, or subscribe wherever you listen. It helps Stepmum Space reach more incredible women like you. I'm so grateful to every listener who's been part of Series 7. Your support means the world. We'll be back in just a couple of weeks with a brand new series packed with more real stories, expert insights, and stepmom solidarity. Please hit the follow button and you'll be notified as soon as the new season drops. In the meantime, follow us on the socials at Stepmum Space, and if you've got a story to share, I would love to hear from you. You can find all the contact details in the show notes. Until then, keep showing up, keep recalibrating, and feel free to tell Alexa to stop. Take care. Lots of love.